Hi, I'm Rainbow Sparkle and this is the Enchanted Wood by Enid Blyton, and this is chapter 14, The Funny Old Saucepan Man. I don't think he's dangerous at all, said Fanny. He has quite a kind face. Well, let's tap on the window, said Bessie. So she tapped. But the saucepan man took no notice. He just went on dancing away, crushing his pans together. Joe tapped loudly. The saucepan man caught sight of him at the window and looked most astonished. He stopped dancing and went to the door. Come in and dance, he said. Oh, no thank you, said Joe. We've come to ask you out for tea. Ask me for a bee? Said the saucepan man, looking surprised. I'm so sorry, but I don't keep bees. Only saucepans. Not bees, said Joe. I want to ask you out for tea. But I don't like to go in the sea, said the saucepan man. I don't like water at all. I never did, but it's very kind of you, I'm sure, but I do hate the sea. Not the sea, but tea, said Joe. Oh, tea, said the saucepan man. Well, why didn't you say that before? Then I should have understood. But I did say that before, said poor Joe. Wait, shut the door? Oh, certainly, if you want to. Give it a push. Oh, I don't think he can hear very well, said Fanny. No, I'm not, said the saucepan man, hearing perfectly all of a sudden. I can hear, only sometimes when my saucepans have been crashing around me a lot, I get noises in my ear afterwards. But I can hear. Oh, I'm glad of that, said Joe, politely. Cat? I haven't got cat, said the saucepan man, looking all around. Did you see one? I didn't say anything about a cat, said Joe patiently. I heard you, said the saucepan man. I don't encourage cats. I keep mice instead. I shall look out for that cat. And then the saucepans clanging around him as he started to run around looking for a cat that wasn't there. Puss, 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 he said. Oh, Fanny started to giggle. Really, the old saucepan man was very funny. Bessie went over to him and pulled his arm. Listen, she said very loudly. We have come to tell you something. The saucepan man looked at her and then bent down to peep under the cupboard. Puss, 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 he said. There's no cat in the house, shouted Moonface. Mouse? You've seen a mouse? Said the old man, alarmed. Oh, I wouldn't like one of my mice to get caught by that cat. I tell you, we haven't got a cat, shouted Joe, feeling quite cross. We've come to tell you about your friend, Mr. What's-his-name. For a wonder, Mr. Saucepan Man heard Joe, and he stopped at once, looking for the cat. Mr. What's-his-name? He cried. Where is he? He's a great friend of mine, he is. Well, wouldn't you like to go and have some tea with him then, said Joe. Oh, yes, certainly I would, said Saucepan Man. Please tell me where he is. He's sitting on the ladder leading up to the faraway tree, up to the Orland. He's waiting there. Yes, for me, said Moonface quietly. Shh, said Fanny. The saucepan man gave a yell of joy when he heard where his friend was, and he set off for the cliff, shouting in delight. Hooray! I'm off to the faraway tree. And I can see my friends again, and Mr. What's-his-name's waiting for me to have tea with him. Come on, come on. Up the cliff they went, treading behind the saucepan man, climbing up the saucepan steps, with his saucepans rattling and clattering and banging all around him. The children and Moonface followed. The saucepan man ran helter-skelter to the hole that led down to the utmost branch of the faraway tree, dropping a few saucepans on the way. When he got there, he peered down and saw Mr. What's-his-name sitting on the ladder, waiting for Moonface. But the saucepan man didn't know that, of course. He thought his friend was waiting for him. "Hi! Hi! Hi!" he shouted, dropping a saucepan on top of Mr. What's-his-name in excitement. "Hi, old friend!" Mr. What's-his-name watched the saucepan bouncing off his foot down the branch of the faraway tree and wondered who it would hit on the way. He looked up in amazement when he saw his friend shouting, "Saucepan! Dear old saucepan, fancy seeing you." "Glue?" said Saucepan Man, suddenly hearing it wrong. "Glue? No, you haven't got any glue with me. But I can soon make some for you." "Oh, still the silly old saucepan, aren't you?" said Mr. What's-his-name. "Come down here. I didn't say anything about glue. Come and have a cup of tea with me. The kettle's boiling." "I don't want oiling," said the Saucepan Man, though he really sounded as if he did. He was so full of clangs and clatters. "I tell you what, I'll come and have a cup of tea and talk to you instead. Hooray!" He put his foot on the ladder, but unfortunately stepped on a kettle that was hung around his leg, and down he went, clatter, bang, crash and clang. Mr. What's-his-name caught him as he went past, and down he went too, rolling off the ladder, down the branch, past Moonface's door, and down the tree. "There they go," said Moonface in delight. "All mixed up with kettles and saucepans. What a joke! I'll give old What's-his-name a fright if they fall into a washtub." The children laughed till they cried. The old saucepan man was really so funny, and they couldn't imagine what people in the tree would think as he rolled down, clattering and banging. "It's quite safe to go down now," said Joe, peering down the ladder. "They've disappeared. I shouldn't wonder if they're at the bottom of the tree by now. Come on, Moonface." So down the ladder they all went and slid down the utmost branch and opened Mr. Moonface's door. Silkie was still there, looking scared out her life. She gave a scream of joy as she saw them. "Why were you so frightened?" said Moonface, giving her a hug. "Oh, goodness, a thunderbolt or something fell out the sky and crashed down the tree," said Silkie. "That was just old Saucepan Man and Mr. What's-his-name," said Joe, laughing, as he told her the whole story. Silkie laughed till her sides ached. She ran out the door and peeked down the tree. "Look," she said, pointing. "Can you see far down there between the branches?" They all looked, and they could see Mr. What's-his-name and old Saucepan Man climbing painfully up to Mr. What's-his-name's home, both talking together at the top of their voices. "They've forgotten all about us," said Joe joyfully. "Now, for goodness sake, Moonface, don't go putting acorns in What's-his-name's mouth again. Let's have something to eat, and then we must go home down your slippery slope." So they all five sat around Moonface's funny room and ate some hot biscuits that Silkie had fetched, and drank acornade, which was made of acorns and was most delicious. Then it was time for the children to go, and they chose cushions, sat at the top of the big tree slide, pushed off and flew down inside the tree, sliding round and around till they shot out of the trapdoor at the bottom on the cushions of moss. Then they ran fast home as they could, for they were late. "I expect old Saucepan Man's gone back to his funny little land by now," said Joe as they turned into their gate. But he hadn't. He came to see them the next day, his saucepans clanging so loudly that Mother looked quite alarmed. "Whatever in the world is that?" she said, as Saucepan Man came up to the gate.